So we picking up from where we left off in the secret brotherhood of the East, the mysteries of the secret brotherhood of the East. This is chapter 9. Open address of Yahshua with 7 sages, 7 days of silence. Ashbena said, Assyria is the land of doubt. If you're not familiar with Assyria, you might want to look that up and go to images. And it'll give you a sense of what Assyria is. So Assyria is the land of doubt. The chariot of my people, that in which they mostly ride, is labeled doubt. So the people in Assyria, doubtful. Once Faith walked in Babylon, and she was bright and fair, but she was clothed in such white robes that men became afraid of her. So Faith walked in Babylon. These are analogies, keep in mind. Chariot of my people got the label on the chariot that says doubt, right? Faith came in and walked in Babylon, and she was bright and fair, but she was clothed in such white robes that men became afraid of her, and every wheel began to turn, and doubt made war on her and drove her from the land, and she came back no more. So Faith came in, or something that represented that. High vibration, we know white, dealing with the white robes. Shining too bright for these doubters. So the doubters drove whatever represented that high vibration in Faith. The doubters drove that away. In form, man worships Allah, the one. In heart, they are not sure that Allah exists. So it may appear, but back to the heart, it might not match. Faith worships at the temple of one not seen, but doubt must see her God. Doubters got to see it. They got to see it. Not visionaries, right? No faith to make something happen. No inspiration. Always doubt. The greatest needs of all Assyria is faith, a faith that seasons everything, that is, with certainty. And then Apollo said, the greatest needs of Greece are true conceptions of Allah, the one. In Greece, it is rudderless. Rudderless just means having no type of aim, no morals, no type of principles. It's nothing direct. You're kind of just floating around. In Greece, it is rudderless, for every thought may be a god of worship as Allah. The plane of thought is broad and full of sharp antagonists. The plane of thought is broad and full of sharp antagonists. And so the circle of the gods is filled with enmity, with wars and base intrigues. Greece needs a mastermind to stand above the gods, to raise the mind of men away from many gods to Allah, the one. So we got doubters. We got the characteristics of the doubters, identifying with different things as everything but the source is being praised but the source. everything but natural order is being recognized. Greece needs a mastermind based on this. And above, Assyria needed a mastermind. We know the light is coming over the hills, Allah, speed of light. Matheno said, behold, this land of Egypt is dead. Our temples long have been the tombs of hidden things of a time. Our temples crypts and caves are dark. In there is no secret things. The sun reveals all hidden truth. There are no mysteries in Allah. The sun reveals all hidden truth. There is no mysteries in Allah. Peep the analogies. Peep the principles inside the verses. Hermetic. Behold, the rising sun. His beams are entering every door. Yes, every crevice of the mystic crypts of Mizraim. Right, Mizraim will be more ancient than Egypt. An expression. We held the light. All Egypt craves the light. And Philo said, the need of Hebrew thought and life is liberty. The Hebrew prophets, the seers, the givers of the law were men of power, men of holy thought, and they bequeathed to us a system of love that was ideal. So the seers, givers of law, men of power, led people based on a system of love that was ideal. One strong enough to lead our people to the goal of perfectness. But carnal minds repudiated this law of love. When you look at repudiated, basically disdain or highly disregarded. So the system of love, cardinal minds repudiated this law and filled the minds with selfishness, and purity in heart became a myth. The people were enslaved. But when he comes, who is to come? He will proclaim emancipation for the slaves. My people will be free. Behold, for Allah has made incarnate wisdom, love, and light, which he called Emmanuel. And we went over Emmanuel, Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, a couple weeks ago. The deific self, the God within unfolded, was also Yahshua's holy name, Emmanuel. To him is given the key to open up dawn. And here, a man, he walked with us. And then the council chamber door was open. And the Logos stood among the sages of the world. Again, the sages sat in silence 7 days. So I'm going to open the floor and let's have a conversation. You know, how people feel about this chapter, what stood out, etc. Anybody's thoughts on this chapter? Opening address of Yahshua with the 7 sages.
The Emmanuel line is pretty crazy to me because when I was in the county down here in San Diego, I was chopping it up with this brother, this melanated dude, and he was we would always like examine the Bible and stuff like that. And he never told me nothing about no Moors or anything, but he'd get deep with it. He would tell me about well, long story short, he showed me this part where it was like that. Like on one chapter, one book of the Bible, it said Jesus did so and so, blah blah blah, and did this and that. And he showed me another book of the Bible where it said the same exact thing, but instead of Jesus, it said Emmanuel. So yeah, he was showing me a whole bunch of intricate, some decoded stuff in the Bible. He also showed me about this. I think it was, I forget, but I could find it real easily. There was one chapter where it was talking about God's anger rose against the tribe of Israel, so he sent them to perish. And then it was the same line on a different book, but it said instead of God, it said the devil's anger rose against the people of Israel and sent them people to perish. So it was like saying that God is basically the same exact thing. Like God and the devil is the same person. It was a trip.
Two sides of the coin.
Right, right. And
That's Two-Face on Batman.
Yeah.
yeah, man. And what you said too, as far as like the Israelites being allowed to perish and all that.
Yeah.
On Sunday, we're going through that book, Muslim versus Muslim, and it's breaking the same thing down, like it's called the Meshe Stele, or it's called or the Moabite Stone, and it's a story that's written in stone, carved in stone, and the story that's carved in stone is the Israelites getting conquered by the Moabites, who were going after idol gods and foreign practices and straying away from the original culture. They were conquered by the Moabites. So that's interesting. And that makes me think too, when you talk about the Israelites, it's so general. That's a general type of statement, for original people. Um, you know,
Um,
Islam.
Yeah, I feel like the magicians, man, they be having the upper hand when it comes to certain things because they could see both sides of the story, like I don't know, man. It's some deep stuff. It's all push and pull, inhale, exhale, when it comes to dualism, and you just gotta kind of ride that wave, I guess.
right in the middle.
Be familiar with both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything stood out for anybody else?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Ladies first.
Okay. So one thing that stood out to me, I think it was the first line, or maybe the second one. It said, once Faith walked in Babylon, and she was bright and fair, but she was clothed in such white robes that men became afraid of her. I see that basically like what's going on in the timeline now. People are waking up and their light is irritating other people, and sometimes people will attack you and they don't necessarily know why. It's because your light is shining too bright and it's irritating their demons. So that took me down a whole thing of that's why they created this whole false idols, because they were scared of that power from the light.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. You pretty much that's what it is. That's what's being expressed. And like he was on point. Like that's awesome right there.
Yeah, to add to what she said, faith is also coming as a pure light. So you can say she's hanging out with truth, peace, freedom, justice, love, all those other embodiments. I would think they all could be taking their space in this.
Yeah, and See on line 1, it's a statement being said that the people of Assyria, it's an analogy, the chariot of my people, that in which they mostly ride is labeled doubt.
Nobody.
So these are analogies. So, and then the symptoms of the doubt, as we keep reading, they give you the symptoms.
Mhm.
The chariot in tarot is number 7, and it represents like moving through obstacles, but moving through those obstacles once you balance your dark and your light. And if your chariot is full of doubt, you basically not going nowhere because you stuck in fear from moving forward or backwards. It's like you just stuck there doing nothing.
Right.
Fire.
Yep. Yeah. So, as we read things like this, all roads lead back to, we got to be in the business of manifesting, creating, coming up with a thought, making that thought happen, where you can touch the thought. Let's back to that. Because when you're doing that, there's no doubt. You don't doubt yourself, for one. Once you go out there and just do something and it happens well, that's all it took. Now you got experience. And back, I'm gonna take it back to the pop-up once again. Like this space, as far as during the week. I know we did the group pop-up, but just during the week, it's just me doing the pop-up, and it's a whole different space because you get your career, you gotta have charisma, you gotta deal with the people. Now, prior to that, it was a little doubt. Like I said, it was a lot of doubt. It was a little doubt. It was like some unknown. I'm like, man, I don't want to be sitting out here selling nothing, be sitting out here looking crazy, walking by me, 2 weeks later, well, man, we on. They expecting me. They're like, when you gonna be here? It's my schedule.
Yep.
Yeah.
They make it-
So that's can't have doubt.
That's why it's so important who's around you, because they can give you a virus when you don't need one of doubt.
Energy transfer for sure, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So if you're not as strong in yourself, it only takes a couple words here and there, and then when you're on a weak moment, you act on what they've been saying instead of what you know.
Right.
And best believe they be watching you, waiting for that moment to say some shit to throw you off your game. Like, you really got to pay attention to everybody in your circle.
Right.
Yeah,
That
man.
confidence is key, man, because people are gonna say, "Oh, that ain't gonna work because of this, or that ain't gonna work because of that." But if you
Yep.
know in your heart that it's gonna work, you better ignore all that negative criticism. They're saying you won't succeed because they won't succeed. That's the difference. They don't even attempt to.
I was about to say it's probably that they won't even try to even get out there and put themselves out there like that.
They already lost. Just not even trying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can also think of them as the agents of the program testing your will of what you say you want.
Mm-hmm. What they call Agent Smith in the Matrix. That's his name.
Yeah, I was gonna bring
Yeah.
that up. When you were talking about that line too, about people being afraid, and they don't even know why they're afraid or why they're going against
Mhm.
you. That's like that Agent Smith can possess anybody in the program at any given
That
time
part.
if you don't have your protection up.
Yep. If you don't know thyself.
Yeah, man. That's beautiful. That's beautiful right here. This was some good analysis right here, man. You can apply. So when you can apply the lessons to everyday life, that's really what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So I also wanted to add, I think 13, 14, and 15. They kind of a little stood out to me because it's kind of like you could say about the information we're talking about. You could say about DNA activation. You could say about any secrets that have been hidden. That the light is here, right? The rising sun is here. It's gonna catch every crevice, every corner that you thought was dormant and dead, and bring it back to the knowledge, to the life, to movement. So I don't know. I feel like that's a very powerful couple statements there too. It's like you don't have nothing to worry about really, because as long as you're in the light, you being touched by it, you already saved in that sense.
Right.
You have to almost deny yourself. You have to live in that Agent Smith world to deny it.
Right.
Because it's touching you every day.
Yeah, you can't know the light without the darkness.
Yep.
But it's a trip too, because like I make the analogy too with Cypher, how he betrayed, the people because he wanted to go back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But look what happened. He didn't even succeed. He can't go back to sleep once you wake up.
I was about
Once
to
you
say
make
you
that
can't go back to sleep.
Could have just killed him already. It's like you're expendable once you know too much anyway. You can't go back.
Right.
And another thing that tripped me out too about the Matrix was it was the melanated dudes who were still organic, who didn't have that plug on the back of his head, except for Morpheus. But the other two was, they were like indigenous people.
I never even paid attention to that.
Yeah, that's just something I kind of noticed. I was like, that's a trip. I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Yeah, they said they were born on that ship. On the Never Connected.
Yeah, they were born outside the Matrix. Yeah.
Mm.
Damn.
Oh, that's the new babies now being born outside the hospital without all the vaccinations and birth certificates and all that.
Exactly. Yep.
That's the Matrix.
Remember, they call the place Zion, and then in the new Matrix, they took the Z and the N and call it IO, which is input, output, on and off. It's still the balance of the darkness and the light. It's the on-off switch.
Interesting.
I'm about to go watch that again.
I mean,
I think I've seen the new one.
Man, the new one was actually, it was good. It was.
It's just an introductory into the Matrix 2.0. So the next one should be even better. But yeah,
Oh, so it's gonna be another one. Oh, I'm behind.
this
Oh,
one is just like linking up the old movies up until what's going on now. And then, so let's just say at the end of it, it'll be part one, basically.
So
Whatever
it's going
movie comes out
backwards,
next,
like almost like the Star Wars thing.
It's a prequel.
Quasicoda, what you finna say something, man? I know you trying to get up in there.
I was just saying, like, what how the brother brought up that they do straight up tell you that they're from Zion and they're the last indigenous ones there, like the last real people, and like they're basically pretty much telling you what's going on. Like they're the only ones that are awake and organic, and everybody else is asleep and just lost.
So would that be the Moors?
The Moors, yeah, the Israelites, all the same people, exactly.
Yeah, they don't have the plugs. They're not plugged in. Everybody else is plugged in.
Everybody else is plugged in into the social media, thinking that all the best rappers out here, they're puppets. They ain't living that life.
Exactly.
And that's crazy how you brought up plugged it to social media, because there's this brother, he's not like with the more business like that, but I like the content he puts out. His name is Wild Quetzal. And he was saying that people were getting on him like, oh, if you're so natural, blah, 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 then why are you on social media? And he gave the analogy of the Matrix, where like in order to save people, you got to get plugged back in to pull people out. So he was using the phone like
Oh,
a
real.
tool.
Mhm.
They used it. I mean, beginning of all what is it called? The internet itself. You know, it was never used. It was never intended for the use of the public. It was always a government issue thing, and only CIA top agents were using it. And then once it became available to the public, people started using it, and it became like an everyday thing for everybody. Then they weaponized it against everybody to, oh, this is what this is what we're pushing. This is what the society is gonna
They
be
always
about it
they
with
always
it.
try to do it like that.
Yeah.
My bad.
But
I didn't mean to cut you off.
what I'm saying is the point that I'm trying to make is, if we know it built for our demise as a weapon against, weapons work both ways. Someone puts a gun at you, and you're conscious. You could either have your own strap on you, or if they're close enough, and you're quick enough and you're keen enough, you could take the gun from them and use that gun. You know what I mean? Like, use what we got against us, turn it around and use it on them.
Yeah.
Facts.
Magic with magic.
You just reversing the magic spells that they put you on. That's all. We've been under magic spells since we were born. Like, from our grandparents was under magic spells, and it's just us recognizing certain patterns so we can break that off of us.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, for all this disinformation right now, they literally sign bills into effect that are a bunch of fake baloney, but they're saying now in other words, they what's it called?
Dropped in enough people.
No, they declared a war on disinformation, meaning if you're not pushing what it is, the facts that they're putting out there, you're an enemy to the state. So that's how you fight their real, because they're the ones that are really pushing disinformation, and by you putting out truth, that so that's what I fight the system, using the system, like, put the truth when and that's another thing. A lot of people don't get a lot of follows because of that, because you're not doing this, you're not
They
I don't.
shadow ban the heck out of your account too if you
They
start
running the
posting
narrative.
like truthful shit. They don't want that stuff being seen, so they'd be like, "Oh nope, we go shadow ban you. Can't nobody see this."
You feel me? And that's
It's
why
all a form of control. Like,
certain rappers are not all the playing, that it's just beefs for it's just nonsense in reality. But they're the ones all they're listening to, and kids want to be this and that, and like
that's Pied Piper energy, using music to influence the masses. But they doing it in a negative way. Like, but when you get tapped in, you can learn how to transmute that energy and make that energy work for you. Like, I listen to rap music, but when I listen to it, my mind is not necessarily on rap music. Like, you can transmute all that shit.
And that's another thing. Like, it ain't what it used to be. Like, say for example, Tupac, he actually had. I mean, he was about thug life and this and that, but there was
that's what they portrayed him as. Like,
no, but that's what I'm saying. He used it, what you're saying, but why? And this is what's the reality of. I'm just a product of my environment,
right.
And
wasn't it the hate you give little infants? Everything, yeah, thug life.
Yep.
Yeah, they're making us dance to the beat of their drum. Like the orchestra leader, he has the wand.
Controlling everybody. Like,
he
that should really be people being chances.
Yes, and we're basically, like, how I see it, like, we're fighting for our people. Like, they putting the people to sleep. The power's in the people. They putting them to sleep and trying to wake them up. That's the fight. So We're just trying to save our people.
I feel like the same way Agent Smith jumps into everybody's bodies for their will, we got to make our Agent Smiths. So every time something comes up that we are on, they'll activate in what we would say and how we would move, how we would walk.
Hey, that's exactly what it is, man. Once you got that healing, that's that healing order right there. We want to, exactly. You're right, man. You hit that on the nail.
Another thing is Agent Smith. I mean, that's the what for example, the last resistance, the last clan, the last tribe to fight, even though they weren't directly in the empire of the Moorish Mexica Empire that fell, they were the last to resist of the wild clans, that were of the land and followed the land, by the land. I'm talking about the Apaches, the Chickawa. They fought, they were the last ones to be captured. And for many years, they couldn't capture these people. And like, at the end of it all, what it is that they took a spreadsheet, a blueprint from their greatest adversary, and they put it on paper like, oh, well, now this is what we're gonna do to train our people, which their elites are the Marines. And literally, if you do your research and do your, they took every aspect of life of the war, the war path of the Chickawas, the Apaches, and they put it into their Marines because they needed the last of the elite warriors. There was the Magi, the Samurai, the Coatlai, all these. They were high priest of Anu, the Moors, Chica, whatever you want to call it. They were the same people fighting for freedom, for the freedom of the people. And that's the main thing that people don't get. Like, yeah, you can train these people a certain way, but they'll never be the elite warriors that fought for their freedom, because the main difference between a soldier and a warrior is the fight for freedom, the willingness to die and live by your way of life for absolute freedom. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, they're sending they recruit these people and they kind of train them the same way, but the only difference is
there's no heart.
They train them heartless and just killers, and they go to another land and kill all these innocent people, and they just tell them, oh, just don't think about it, because when you get home, you're gonna be a hero. And it has they're training them to be Smiths, robots. They don't have that. In other words, you can't fake a real person. You can't fake a real soul.
It's like they don't have empathy or compassion for other life.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. A warrior will die behind his beliefs and his freedom. A soldier is just gonna do what he does because he's told.
He's told so. Yeah.
The paid mercy. It's not. They'll always lose, and that's why.
That's why I was just about to say. That's why they always go far, because there's no heart behind what they doing. Now, if somebody else with the same intention is doing it for right reasons, then they go have all kind of energy from the ancestors and shit to back their ass up. You think the ancestors is not mad for all this shit that they did? Hell yeah, they mad. They just waiting for more of us to wake up so we can push that energy harder.
Yep.
Simeon Toko already said, after me, there'll be many.
Yep.
Yeah, man. It's excellent right here. Shit, I don't think we're gonna need to go into astral diagnosis tonight. We an hour in.
This chapter was good.
You gonna save it for Friday, man. You gonna save it for Friday.
Save it for Friday. Holy day. But no, it's good though, man. Like,
yeah,
this with the holy books is supposed to inspire, this type of thought. This frequency, man, because this ain't nowhere else. You ain't gonna get it nowhere else, Divine circle, man.
That's that's what I was gonna tell you earlier too, Mafi. When you were out doing the pop-ups, you know, that little bit of doubt of you being alone. You know, you got the ancestors with you, man.
Army of one.
And I like to point out another thing is like what people don't understand is what's his name? Montezuma and Cuauhtemoc were the last the last emperors of Tenochtitlan, which was the Moorish Mexica Empire. But they lived according to the city life there. That was just the Mecca of the trading center of the Americas for all the tribes. But what I'm trying to get people to understand is too, like, even though like the Chickawas, the tribes like to be nomadic, just for instance, like the gypsies, like the Egyptians, like, you know, the Egyptians that left. And that's where the word gypsy comes from. Egyptians, they left the city to be according to nature. They're still part of the same tribes. You see what I'm saying? Yep. Ultimately, what they were fighting for was freedom. Like, that's why everybody was so like-minded. It wasn't about the division between clans or tribes. It was that they living according to the nature. With that brings, like, for example, Pirates of the Caribbean. Watch that movie. They're fighting the pirates, but in reality, we know that the Europeans are just settlers, and they came to what's it called? You know, enslave people, because that's their thing is the slave trade. That's how they make money. They were going against the people that were already here, and the people already here, like from what we know, was the Moors. But the difference was there was different types of Moors. Like, in other words, that's, you know how they say back in the day there was a code amongst thieves, meaning the people that wanted to live in the city, they did everything by the book according to law and contract on paper. And so they held everybody accountable through contract on paper. But in the street or in the dirt, you know, in the wild, it's like, look, this is what it is. It's exactly. Are you a man? This is what's for real. It goes down out here. Are you a man on your word? Are you gonna stand on what day? And if you're not, you know, you're not a man. Exactly what they're pushing right now with all this shit to snitching is okay and this and that. It was in reality, they were like, if you know the risk of what was going down. If you get caught up by these people, they're gonna torture you, do whoop-de-whoop or whatever. But for you to snitch on the rest of us for your downfall, you're not a man, because you have to look at the bigger picture. Is what I'm trying to get people to. The bigger picture is, it's not just you, it's the whole community of the people. And there was not only the people at sea doing this, there was people on the land doing this. That was the major thing why they called them pirates, called them the wild tribes of the West, the savages. Exactly. They weren't savages. It's just they did according to law of the void of being a man of your word and standing on that. You know the risk and the consequences that comes with what it is that goes on out here in the street, in the wild, you know. And now there, like they said, there is really no thieves. There is none of that. It's just on this, you snitch on him, snitch. Everybody's just snitching, and there's no. In other words, like what happened, for example, Chief Malik and Chief Hoover. You know, if I feel like if those two men were still at least had out here and they would have more pull respect and authority to stop things from the chaos that is right now in Chicago. You know, like Chicago wasn't always like what they portray it to be, and from what the kids now experience, they put it in their music just so they can get big. You know, because you know there really ain't no other way, and they know that. And also the contractors that contract them to the industry know that. And that's why they glorify this lifestyle of, oh yeah, I'm a fuck your bitch, I'm gonna kill you, I'm a, you know, whoop-de-whoop, fuck my cousin, fuck them, fuck this. It's just fuck the world. But in reality, you're just fighting yourself. You know, they want us to implode in amongst ourselves.
Yep, that's always been the ploy.
Yep.
They don't got,
And then,
they ain't got to go out and kill us if we're already doing it.
Yeah, they stay in the shadows and whisper the virus, and then you act on it.
and then when you pay attention to where most of the violence and shit happens from that music, it's the energy chakras. LA, he said Chicago, New York,
Miami.
I forget the other ones, but yeah, all they use the energy of the sacred land to control a certain amount of people. When you look at the projects and shit, like the shit be set up like mousetraps. It's all experiments.
That's
Like
reality. That's why they call it a project, you know, a trap.
exactly.
A project, a trap in the projects. Because it's your experiment. You're their little experiment. And
You're they guinea pigs, test dummies, lab rats, all that.
In Cali, Arizona, Texas, all the the West, literally this was the Wild West. And that's why I brought up the wild tribes. It wasn't just the Chickawas, it was a bunch of other different tribes. And for the majority of it, they peace amongst themselves, and they did beef with other tribes, but they, in other words, they kept their beef on the street, on the battlefield, and there was a code. You know what I mean?
I was about to say, and more than likely they was beefing for something serious. It wasn't no bullshit ass.
It was rules to engagement, and that's the bottom. Rules to engagement means this is what you don't do. Like, you know, back in the day there was rules. Oh, you can't do no drive-bys, or you can't whoop-de-whoop, because if you're gonna go handle it, either you go knuckle up, or if it's really that serious, then you go, you know. In other words, there's and set rules amongst thieves, because they know it's the wild. They know it's the Wild West. They know what it's been, and shit really never changed. Just the what is it called? The what they call it, like it's just different. Like gangs, for example, those are just tribes that nowadays they're lost, and now everything is down to drugs. Like there ain't no love, and you know, and
that's how you said they weaponized everything, because even gangs started out as protection for the neighborhood. But that's how they weaponize the internet. They're trying to weaponize the vegan diet. They're trying to weaponize, gangs. Everything that we find that's beneficial, they find a way to make it.
Yeah, so to add to a couple things, the gang part, in Hindustan, they used to have this group called the Thuggies, and they worship a god where they didn't bathe. They pretty much stayed in groups in the streets. I don't know if they might have been thieves too. I'm not sure about that part, but some of these words go back once again further than we think, and the energy is still the same of how they move, even if the rules in the set have changed, like he's saying. So it's still the same energy, even from that. And also to add to what he was talking about with the pirates, one, if anybody's interested in any anime, like it has to do with that, One Piece is a great one. It pretty much takes you into all the realities that we have in this realm, plus the pirates versus the colonials. But to add to what he was saying, some of those pirates used to ship and protect for the colonists as well, and then they stopped paying them, so they started robbing their shipments or stopping them from getting their shipments through, or destroying their ships. So that's another reason why they started calling them pirates.
That's exactly goes down today. Like if you go to a neighborhood and you don't know that neighborhood and you don't check in and you don't do this and that,
Yep.
you know, they're gonna rob you. You know, you're just a, you know what I mean? You're not, and it's not just what I'm saying. It's not they make it like that because, like you said, it's been going on since back then.
Mm-hmm.
Thing is, if you watch Pirates of the Caribbean, they're telling you straight up because what happened. Most of the pirates stay to themselves and their own, like you said, their own little area, and they do what they do and they protect their own little area. And this is my area. You stay in your area. Whoop de whoop. If they fighting over the area or whatever, but for the majority, they have peace amongst the street.
Yep.
And in the movie, they come together. Why? Because they have a common enemy, which is the colonists.
Yep.
Come together to fight the colonists because that's their common problem. As is, these fools are trying to tax everybody. They're trying to be the ultimate gangster, the ultimate mafia, and tax the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they trying to take one out of our books.
The enemy of my is my friend. Is
Yep.
what I'm trying to say. You know, we were never enemies. You know, like that's what I'm trying to say. Also, like what it was is you need to respect the code and follow the code. Like, you know what it is, you signed up for it, you know, don't act dumb when shit hits the fan.
That's like the Hunab-Pu, the light and the dark. It's all ruled by one guy.
Yep, I got.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a beautiful, man. Beautiful bill tonight. Once again, whoever didn't know, we got a Noble Drew Ali celebration on Sunday.
Hey, where was that at? Because I was
we never got the address.
I was thinking of paying a visit out there, but I don't know. I mean, which I'm trying. You know, my heart is. But if I can make it, I would love to make it.
It is what it is, man. You know, however it play out, man. You know, that's how it's meant to be, you know. But yeah, it's in LA. Just let me know.
Okay. Oh yeah, just send me information or whatever, and I'll see if I can make it.
Yep. Yeah, man. But yeah, I think everybody pretty much knows about it. Once again, we got vegan nachos, enchiladas, pico de gallo, salsa. If anybody that's coming, think of anything else they want to bring to add to that, don't be shy, just bring it.
I heard somebody made tamales. I don't know who it was.
Yeah, man. If I'm financially able to make it, man, I would love to bring them. But man, it's been a struggle to make rent. But I feel it, man. I feel it coming. This prosperity is around the corner. You know, I just got to be patient, keep bettering myself. You know.
Yeah. Speaking those words too. That's this year. Whatever you say, that's you gonna get. So live in the vibration if you don't have it yet.
Yes.
Islam, everybody. Yes. So this is Nuna. So I was just tuning in. I'm sorry I wasn't in tune with the lesson for a minute, but just checking in. So everything is pretty much set for Sunday. We like Mafi said, we just have the main course of the nachos and the enchiladas. So the only thing that additional things that we probably will consider is just something to drink, you know. However, I don't know, everybody has their own, some people don't, you know, I don't know what everybody likes to drink. So as far as, you know, we have some good carbonated drinks that are natural. So if you guys want to bring something to drink, we're going to have the desserts. It is my solar return on the Saturday prior. So kind of combination. It's a combination of my solar return and the celebration of Noble Drew Ali's. All in the same spirit, you know. All in the same spirit.
We're all one.
Happy solar return.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So So I'm gonna have a little cake. My favorite is German chocolate cake. So I'm gonna definitely have that for one of the desserts. And then, and then whatever else anybody else wants to bring. But I just want to let you guys know that. And I'll be putting in, I guess Mafia will put in in our chat or our text mail, the email or our texting chat for the address and everything, and we can arrange that because the situation is going to be the parking is really kind of difficult where I'm living again, like I was stating. So what we're going to do is I have one parking space and someone can park behind me, and then as people are coming, I'm gonna have people come and they can actually park down the street at the Ralph's grocery store. And then, we just have the car that's parked behind me will be able to go ahead and just go pick that person up, bring them right back, because it's like 2 minutes right down the street. It'll make parking so much easier.
Yep, a caravan.
Yeah, we just caravan and do that kind of thing. So yeah.
Caravan of love.
Yes. And unfortunately, I don't know the other new nobles on here that may not be able. I know you guys are pretty far away, so if you're not able to attend, we still will all be in the same mind and the same spirit together in celebration.
Yeah. Yeah. Try to do a Zoom too, like have a little Zoom.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just have it
That
live.
would be great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yep. Yeah. Pretty much it. Anybody else have any thoughts or things they wanted to say before we close out?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm thankful for y'all. Like-minded people can accomplish great things. When they come together.
Wow.
Beautiful.
You too,
That's
brother.
beautiful. I knew I could find you guys though. I was like, where's all the geniuses and stuff at? But, where's all the people that think like me?